Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Music of the Week. I don't really have much to get in the way of the preamble and so on. I just have about 6 albums to go through, so I'll go through them as quickly and as best as I can. We begin with Beartooth and their 5th album, The Surface. This is the band I've been listening to for close to a decade, actually. I didn't catch their debut when it came out. That was Disgusting, I think that was. Well, debut full length, I don't do EPs. But of course, Aggressive when that came out, I've listened to Disgusting since, obviously. I've covered all the Beartooth stuff, and this gets an A. I fucking love Beartooth so much. Yeah, they're a great band. They've always been one of the best hardcore punk and slash hard rock mixing bands. I think Caleb Sharma's just been always naturally great at doing that. His production's really good too. I like the lyricism about sort of hope and trying to get over mental anxieties and, really good positive messages to it. The instrumentation is really good. The fucking riffs still rule as hard as they ever do. For Beartooth, I love the punk lean, I love the hard rock stuff. I love that there's more solos on this one. Really wanted that the last album, and the few that were on that one, on Below, were really good. I'm glad that there's more of them on The Surface here. Performances are great, but obviously it's Caleb Show who stands out. His vocals are just fantastic. He's so good at emoting. Like, it's one of the things I don't think he gets enough credit for. His emotion and his storytelling are always on point, and structurally wise, it's really good too. Can feel a bit like your stereotypical Beartooth album, but Beartooth are a fucking good band with a fucking good sound, and the sound loops that they employ on this one, even with the heavier elements thrown in, even bits of experimentation that work well. It's just really good shit, and you should be listening to more Beartooth in your life, so go fix that if you haven't done that already. Go check it out. We then get to a bit of a strange one, as it's the final album by rap duo City Morgue titled My Bloody America. I only covered one album by them before this, which was their last album in 2020, titled Bottom of the Barrel. And they're a unique sort of like trap, rappy, metally sort of group, duo. And I'm giving this one a B. Spoilers, that's the last grade of the episode, by the way. And yeah, I thought it was really solid in a lot of what it tried to do. I think Zillikami and Sol Musa, I think that's the name of the other guy, they have a really good fucking chemistry together. I like the... I do think the lyricism is a bit too aggressive and is a bit too horrorcore in some places, but, there's some really good wordplay from time to time. It is mostly their vocals and their performances and the overall beats that really help. I love the pulsing feel and how dark the vibe is on this one. It's really good in terms of production too. I think it was handled by the two of them. I could be completely wrong about that. Really done well for the most part though. I like how it busts up the sound in a lot of places. And I like the focus on the sort of, again, the underlying trappy elements that really work for me. Structurally wise, it's filled with a few too many short songs and doesn't really have any songs that have a proper chorus, but what it does have is, some ultimately very good and very dark leaning rap. We then get to Creeper and their 3rd album, Sangrevour. Now, Creeper is a band from the UK, from Bristol, and love me a band from the UK, as people know. And this is album number 3 by them. I've listened to all their stuff. I really enjoyed Eternity in Your Arms, not as much as most other people did, though. I really like Sex, Death, and the Infinite Void a little bit more than other people did. And I think I like Sangrevour pretty much as everyone else. Pretty much as much as anyone else. It gets an A+, the highest possible grade this humble man can give. Absolutely fantastic from all standpoints. It's more of a gothic rock leaning album with some really great piano elements to it. I love the punchiness of the guitars, the drums, the bass work is really good too. I like the keyboard stuff and the piano and all the other stuff they throw in. It's great. It's really good. It's got really good experimentation that leans so well to the structuring. And here's an example, there's only 10 songs on it, which is about bog standard for an album anyway. I don't know why I said it like there wasn't much. But the opening song, Further Than Forever, is over 9 minutes long, and it doesn't feel it at all. It just flows so smoothly, and again, much like the previous albums, this one is a concept. It's about a violent teenage vampire named Mercy and an old man who she has turned and uses to do a bidding named Spook. And it's the story of how Mercy slowly regains her humanity, starts being a bit less murdery. And eventually I think the implication of the story is that she sort of falls in love with Spook, or she suffers something and drains his blood so that she can survive. It's something along those lines. It's a very harrowing and, honestly sweet story with what it's got to tell. I think the production helps with that as well. My god, the production on this thing is so so well done. It's got so many. It's got the right buffs in all the right places for the overall sound. I think the performance is great as well. Obviously, Will Gould is an amazing vocalist. So much charisma, so much personality. The entire band have it as well. And again, yeah, the production just has so many high points to it, and the structuring and build-up and the payoffs to the big songs all feel great as well. And I like how it's got a good song flow, but each song does feel distinct from itself. Just go check this one out. If you've heard anything good about Creeper, and pretty much anyone has any good things to say about Creeper, go check this one out. It's really good stuff. Next we have the Menzingers and their 7th album, Some of It Was True. And yes, I say 7th album because acoustic redos don't fucking count. However, I've been familiar with the Menzingers for a little bit. I first listened to, I think it was Hello Exile in 2019, because that was From Exile, which I think came out the next year, but that was just acoustic versions of songs from Hello Exile, so that doesn't count. But it is your stereotypical Menzinger stuff of, like, you know, sort of old man trying to tell good stories and succeeding, that style of punk. I'm giving it a B. I thought it had some really good parts to it as well. I like the amount of storytelling is just so good. It's something that the band have always been pretty good at. The lead singer, Gregor Barnett, I think his name is, does a really good job with that. He's got a lot of, like, he's got a really good timbre to his voice, which I've always liked. I like the riffs. I like the slow burn pacing, which a lot of other reviewers didn't like as much. I don't know. I quite enjoyed it. I do think the structuring maybe needed some work in some areas. I do feel like a few songs flew by a little bit quick, which is weird because none of them are, like, super short or anything. But overall, you know, really good stories to tell in the lyrics too, about the past and nostalgia and broken relationships and so on. Solid riffs and instrumentation all in all as well. I like the punchiness of the punk riffs on occasion, but again, the slow build is what really helps for me. Production's pretty good too, mostly a clean sound. Yeah, maybe a little bit too polished in some places, but I do like the mostly organic feel to things. Performance is really good, structuring really good. This album, really good. Probably my least favourite Menzingers album so far. I still think After the Party is their best one. I did do a retrospective review on that. I haven't done everything from the band's back catalogue, don't worry. But, yeah, I don't know why I said don't worry there. But go and check this out if you like the Menzingers. You'll like this because it's basically just more of the Menzingers. That's never a bad thing. Next we have a rapper. The second rap sort of central thing I'm covering today. We have Ren with his second album, Sick Boy. Well, second full album titled Sick Boy. This is his first one in about 7 years. I know he put out like a bunch of EPs and mixtapes, but again, those do not count. And I'm giving this one an A. I thought this was some proper good rap from this guy, who I'd only heard about way earlier in the year with the title track titled, obviously, Sick Boy. I heard it through a YouTube ad, and unlike most rap I hear through YouTube ads, it wasn't, you know, just the boring stuff about how many women they shagged, how much drugs they've done, and how badly they're going to murder you when they see you. It wasn't a bunch of pointless flexing. Yeah, and that really leans into the lyrical theme of the album. It is mostly about Ren exploring his issues with his mental health, and there's a lot of political stuff as well, covering things like the suicide rate, and corruption, and greed, and, you know, politicians basically being assholes, and life, and it's a very grim painting, but Ren is an amazing storyteller. His performance is absolutely fantastic. He's the only person on this album, by the way, except for one song which has one guest star. Ren does the entire 18 songs. It's 18 songs long and an hour and 4 minutes, but he does the entire thing on his own. And he doesn't just stick to one flow either. He mixes it up on many of the songs, and he puts up a more fun vibe in some cases. He speeds it up, he double times, triple times it sometimes. He's got really good diction and punctuation, and a really good accent. For a guy who grew up in Wales, I thought Welsh rapping would be a bit more difficult to understand, but he doesn't really retain a lot of the accent, and I think that maybe kind of helps. The instrumentation obviously is really good too. I like the beats, I like the steady flow of them, really good usage of piano and guitar as well, which Ren does play, and the production was handled entirely by Ren too. This was a self-released album, and he does a fucking really good job on this front too. I love how vibrant the beats are in some areas, but I love how dark they feel. I like the trappy vibes, I like the more throwback vibes as well. And as for the structuring, also really good. There's a lot of really solid pacing on this one. For an album that's as long as this is, it doesn't feel like it drags too much. However, of the 18 songs, it does kind of lose itself a little bit in the final third, I will admit. There's a couple of songs that do feel a bit like they should have maybe been left on the cutting room floor, but, you know, for an 18-song album that's over an hour long, it doesn't drag at all for what it tries to do. And I do appreciate Ren throwing in the weirdest stuff. Well, I say weird stuff. Throwing in the, well, just throwing in whatever the fuck he likes, really. It's a really good album, really good rap album, and again, another recommendation for me in terms of rap albums this year. God, it's been a good year for rap, hasn't it? Especially the actually good shit, so yeah, go check this one out. And finally, we reach a band I thought was new, but as you'll tell from the album title, they're not. Victims, which is just VCTMS, with their 5th album, Volume V, or Volume 5, because it's Roman numeral, The Hurt Collection. So, this is a band I think I was just like gathering albums, I think. You know, this was like the one I sort of slapped on at the last minute and thought, this'll do. And at first I thought this was like a female-led version of Tala, but then I realised this band has actually been around for almost a decade longer than Tala have. I'm giving this one a B, and yeah, that's correct. All the lowest grade albums in this episode have all been given just a B. So as for what it is in terms of sound, it is a new metalcore album, which is why I made the Tala comparison, and it feels like it's trying to kind of do what Tala does, but with less craziness and without like any storytelling to it. It does feel maybe a little bit too stereotyped in a lot of its heaviness, but I like the heaviness. I like the unnerviness of the guitar work. I like how that's worked in. I like the sort of Korn vibes in some areas, you know? I think the band are really good, especially drummer slash vocalist Meredith Henderson. I think she's the lead singer, as well as being the drummer too. That can't be easy. She puts in a fucking tour de force on both the singing and also the screaming, and also the drumming is good too. I think the guest spots are fun. I know there's more than just this one, but my favourite song features Elijah Witt from Cane Hill, and I love me a bit of Cane Hill. They're a really good band, and his performance is really good on the song he's on too. I think the band themselves obviously are really great too. I like the instrumentation in a lot of its areas as well. I do think it can feel a bit too blocky in some areas, but when it gets it right, and it does maybe sometimes go for a little bit of the rails in terms of its structuring, but it does rein itself back in quite well. It's got like steady pacing for the most part. I just wish it could really fit into one lane. It doesn't feel like an album with its own identity, especially among new metalcore albums, but I do appreciate that the band are trying their best. I think the production is probably the part that suffers the most, maybe? I don't know I'm talking down on it so much. It's a B. It's still a really good album, but like there are some caveats to it. And you know, the production is one of those caveats. It's got some weird production choices. It feels a bit too polished in some of its areas, and I think it could have done with less of that. It really could have done with a more like raw and like needly feel. You know, I think that's what the album needed, and it didn't really get that benefit. And this was self-released, by the way, and I don't know if it was self-produced, but whoever did the producing on this did an okay job, but they needed to understand the band a bit better, I think. And lyrically wise, I couldn't really find much. I think the main themes are mental health, with maybe stuff like betrayal and mental illness and probably depression. I couldn't really find much. There's only like 2 songs to read about. One of them is the Elijah Witt feature, which is a bit odd. But yeah, I couldn't really find anything to read about them, and I couldn't find themes. I did try to look, but I did look, but I just couldn't fucking find anything. So I don't know. The tone was good. I'm sure it fits the few things I was able to read about, but yeah, just very, very weird how that turned out. But it's still, you know, it's still a really good album. It's got good lyricism for the most part, when you can find it and when you can read it. It's not even on the fucking Bandcamp page, for God's sake, though. The band are probably the highlight of the album, though. Production's a bit weird, but it has good intentions. I don't mind the structuring. I think they could have gone a bit more crazy in some areas. And instrumentation-wise, also really fucking good. Just really good riffs, so yeah, go give this one a spin. And that'll about do it. My official album ordering, because I know people really care about that part. We'll go to Victims with Volume 5, The Hurt Collection, City Morgue with My Bloody America, The Menzingers, Some of It Was True, Beartooth with The Surface, Ren with Sick Boy, and Creeper with Sanguivore. But as always, go and listen to all of these once yourself, because, you know, formulate your own opinions, because that's what makes this shit and this life indeed very interesting. As for what's next from me, tomorrow I've got a reaction video coming. I don't know what that's going to be reacting to, but it will be a reaction video of sorts. And tomorrow night will be the next show, PPW vs AVW. I've got to actually sort out a card because I didn't get any work done on that last night. So I should fix that. I've got a lot of shit to do today. But I will get that done when I can. And I'll see you all tomorrow for something. Probably a wrestling show. Hopefully a wrestling show. As always, thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye-bye. Oh, and on the off chance that you're watching this, Scarlett, happy birthday. Now, thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye-bye.